Welcome to Certified Data Engineer Associate DEA-C01 Practice Exam Number 9. You'll get 30 exam-style questions. I will read each question, then give you a 10-second countdown to review the answer choices on screen. Feel free to pause the video if you need longer. After each countdown, I will reveal the correct answer and explanation. Question 1. A data engineer at Tailspin Payments is designing a CDC pipeline to replicate changes from an on-premises Oracle database to both Amazon S3 and Amazon OpenSearch service simultaneously. The pipeline must capture inserts, updates, and deletes with minimal impact on the source database. Which architecture should the data engineer implement? Select one. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option B. Using AWS DEA-C01 with CDC mode to stream changes to Amazon Kinesis data streams provides a fan-out architecture where a single CDC stream can be consumed by multiple downstream services. Amazon Data Firehose can read from the Kinesis stream and deliver to both S3 and OpenSearch as separate delivery streams, enabling simultaneous delivery to both destinations from a single CDC source. This approach minimizes impact on the Oracle source since DMS reads transaction logs once. Creating two separate DMS tasks to the same source would read the transaction logs twice, increasing load on the source database. Oracle Golden Gate requires additional licensing and management on the source system. Replicating to an intermediate RDS Oracle instance adds unnecessary cost and complexity with an extra hop in the data path. Question 2. Litware Consulting manages a shared Amazon S3 data lake with 3 storage tiers. Raw CSV data lands in the bronze zone, cleaned Parquet data is in the silver zone, and aggregated data is in the gold zone. The team wants to automatically transition silver zone data older than 90 days to S3 Glacier Instant Retrieval and gold zone data older than 365 days to S3 Glacier Deep Archive. However, they noticed that objects smaller than 128 KB in the silver zone are not being transitioned. What explains this behavior? Select one. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option D. S3 Glacier Instant Retrieval, like other infrequent access storage classes, has a minimum billable object size of 128 KB. Objects smaller than 128 KB are charged as if they were 128 KB, and lifecycle transitions to these classes skip objects below this threshold because the storage cost savings would be negated by the minimum charge overhead. This is a storage class level constraint, not a lifecycle rule configuration issue. The behavior is not about lifecycle rules requiring minimum sizes generically, but rather about the specific storage class constraints. The lifecycle rule filter does not automatically exclude small objects based on default prefix configuration. Question 3. A data engineer at Fabricam Corp manages an Aurora PostgreSQL global database with a primary cluster in US East-1 and read replicas in EU West-1 and App Northeast-1. During a regional outage simulation, the team needs to promote the EU West-1 secondary cluster to become the new primary. The promotion must result in the least amount of data loss. What should the data engineer do? Select one. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option B. Managed planned failover is designed for controlled region switches with minimal data loss. It ensures the secondary cluster in EU West-1 is fully synchronized with the primary before promotion, maintaining the replication topology of the global database. Since this is a simulation, not an actual outage, the primary region is still available, making planned failover the correct choice. Unplanned failover, detach and promote is meant for disaster recovery when the primary region is unavailable and may result in some data loss due to asynchronous replication lag. Deleting the global database destroys the replication topology and requires manual reconfiguration afterward. Restoring from a backup creates a point-in-time copy that misses any transactions after the backup, resulting in greater data loss than planned failover. Question 4. Fabricam Retail has a data lake on Amazon S3 with AWS Lake Formation managing access. The company has 500 tables across 20 databases and 50 data analyst teams that need different levels of access based on their department and data classification level. The current named resource method requires maintaining thousands of individual grants. Which approach should the engineer implement to simplify permissions management? Select 1. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option A. LF-tag-based access control, LFTBAC, is specifically designed for large-scale environments where the named resource method becomes unmanageable. By assigning LF tags like department equals sales and classification equals restricted to data catalog resources, and then granting permissions based on tag expressions, the number of grants scales linearly n principals plus n resources, instead of multiplicatively n principals x n resources. For 50 teams and 500 tables, LFTBAC dramatically reduces the permission management overhead from potentially 25,000 grants to approximately 550 tag assignments and grants. IAM policies for S3 access bypass Lake Formation's fine-grained access control and cannot provide table or column-level security. Athena workgroups control query execution settings, not data access permissions. S3 access points provide network-level access control, but lack the metadata-aware permissions that Lake Formation provides. Question 5. Fabricam Energy has an Amazon S3 data lake with 200 TB of historical sensor data stored as CSV files. The data is queried weekly using Amazon Athena for trend analysis. The monthly Athena costs are very high due to the volume of data scanned. The data engineer needs to reduce Athena query costs by at least 90% without changing the query patterns. Which approach should the data engineer implement? Select 1. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option C. Converting CSV to Apache Parquet with compression is the most effective way to reduce Athena costs. Athena charges $5 per TB scanned, and Parquet is a columnar format that stores data more efficiently and allows Athena to read only the columns needed for a query. Combined with snappy compression, this typically reduces data scanned by 9–95% compared to CSV, directly translating to proportional cost savings. S3 intelligent tiering reduces storage costs but does not reduce Athena scan costs, which are based on data volume scanned. Migrating to Redshift changes the architecture significantly and adds ongoing compute costs. S3 Select provides some query pushdown for individual objects, but does not achieve the 90% cost reduction that columnar format conversion provides. Question 6. A data engineer at Tailspin Games is building an event-driven pipeline. Game telemetry events arrive in an Amazon S3 bucket as JSON files. Each file upload must trigger a glue ETL job that transforms the data to Parquet and loads it into a curated zone. The engineer also needs to track which files have been processed to avoid reprocessing. The solution must minimize operational overhead. What should the data engineer do? Select 1. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option D. S3 event notifications triggering a Lambda function to start a glue ETL job provides event-driven processing with minimal latency and operational overhead. Glue job bookmarks track which S3 objects have been processed based on timestamps, preventing reprocessing on subsequent runs. This is a standard serverless pattern that requires no polling or scheduling. Scheduling a crawler every 5 minutes introduces unnecessary latency and cost from continuous crawler runs when files may not have arrived. Crawl event mode is designed for crawlers to detect schema changes, not for triggering ETL jobs. It updates the data catalog but does not start ETL processing. Data Firehose ingests streaming data from producers, not existing files from S3. It cannot read files that were uploaded to S3 by another process. Question 7. Contoso Energy stores IoT sensor data in Amazon S3. The data is in JSON format, and analysts use Amazon Athena to run queries. The team observes that Athena queries are expensive, scanning large amounts of data. The data grows by 500 GB daily. The data engineer needs to reduce Athena query costs by at least 90% while maintaining query performance. Which combination of actions should the data engineer take? Select 2, review the answer choices on screen. The correct answers are option A and option C. Converting JSON to Parquet achieves dramatic cost reduction because Parquet is a columnar format that enables Athena to read only the columns needed for each query and uses efficient compression, reducing data scan by up to 95% compared to JSON. Partitioning the data by date with partition projection enables Athena to skip irrelevant partitions entirely, further reducing data scanned. Partition projection defines the partition scheme in table properties, eliminating the need for getPartition API calls and improving query planning speed. Together, these two approaches can achieve over 90% cost reduction. S3 intelligent tiering reduces storage costs but does not reduce Athena scan costs since Athena charges are based on data scanned, not stored. Setting byte scan cutoff per query limits costs by canceling expensive queries but does not actually reduce the amount of data scanned. Redshift Spectrum would require provisioning Redshift infrastructure and does not inherently reduce the cost of scanning the same data. Question 8. Litware Manufacturing has an on-premises Oracle database with 5 TB of data that needs to be migrated to Amazon Aurora PostgreSQL. The migration must minimize downtime for the production application. After the initial data load, ongoing changes must be replicated until the cutover. Which migration approach meets these requirements? Select 1, review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option D. Using AWS Schema Conversion Tool, SCT, to convert the Oracle schema to PostgreSQL-compatible DDL, combined with AWS DEA-C in full load plus CDC mode, provides the minimal downtime migration path. SCT handles the heterogeneous schema conversion between Oracle and PostgreSQL. DEA-C full load plus CDC mode performs the initial bulk data transfer, and then automatically begins capturing and replicating ongoing changes from Oracle transaction logs. This allows the production application to continue operating while changes are synchronized, minimizing the cutover window to just the time needed to redirect the application. Exporting to CSV files requires application downtime during the export and does not capture ongoing changes. DEA-C with full load mode only does not replicate ongoing changes, requiring a longer maintenance window. Oracle Data Pump with PG Restore requires downtime for the export and does not support continuous change replication between heterogeneous databases. Question 9. A data engineer at Contoso Energy needs to set up an Amazon MWAA environment to orchestrate data pipelines involving Glue ETL jobs, Athena queries, and EMR steps. The MWAA environment must access these AWS services securely without traversing the public internet. The VPC has private subnets with no internet gateway. Which combination of networking configurations enables MWAA to function correctly? Select 2, review the answer choices on screen. The correct answers are option B and option C. MWAA runs in private subnets and requires VPC endpoints to communicate with AWS services when there is no internet access. An S3 gateway endpoint is essential because MWAA stores DAGs, plugins, and requirements in S3. VPC interface endpoints for services like SQS, CloudWatch logs, KMS, and the specific services being orchestrated enable private connectivity without internet access. A NAT gateway would work for downloading PyPy packages, but the question specifies no internet gateway in the VPC, and a NAT gateway requires routing through an internet gateway. Public Web Server Access Mode controls Airflow UI access, not API connectivity to AWS services. Deploying in public subnets contradicts the requirement of private network communication, and MWAA requires private subnets. Question 10. Contoso Media needs to capture all write operations, put object, delete object, to a specific S3 bucket named Media Assets for audit compliance. The audit logs must be queryable using SQL for monthly compliance reports with minimal operational overhead. Which solution should the data engineer implement? Select one. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option A. CloudTrail data events capture all API-level operations on S3 objects, including put object and delete object with full request details, caller identity, and timestamps. Filtering to write-only operations on a specific bucket minimizes costs. CloudTrail Lake provides a built-in SQL query engine with event data stores supporting up to 10-year retention, enabling direct SQL queries for compliance reports without additional infrastructure. S3 Server Access Logging provides access logs but with best effort delivery and less structured data, making SQL queries less reliable. SQS and Lambda processing creates significant operational overhead for building and maintaining a custom audit system. OzConfig tracks resource configuration changes, not individual object-level operations like put object and delete object. Question 11. Adatum Analytics runs Amazon Redshift with R Athena nodes. The team has a large fact table orders that is frequently joined with a small dimension table, product categories, 500 rows, and a medium-sized dimension table, customers, 50 million rows on their respective ID columns. The team needs to optimize query performance for these joins. Which combination of distribution styles should the team use? Select 2. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answers are option A and option B. Key distribution on the orders fact table using customer ID collocates, rows with matching customer ID values on the same node slices, enabling local joins with the customer's table and eliminating data redistribution during queries. All distribution on the small product categories table, 500 rows, replicates the entire table to every node, ensuring joins with the fact table never require network data movement. Even distribution on orders would scatter data randomly without considering join patterns, causing expensive data redistribution. Key distribution on customers alone without matching the fact table's distribution key would not collocate the data. All distribution on customers, 50 million rows, would wastefully replicate a large table across every node, multiplying storage requirements and slowing inserts and updates. Question 12. A data engineer at Northwind Logistics needs to configure encryption for an Amazon Kinesis data stream that contains sensitive shipment tracking data. The security team requires the ability to audit all encryption key usage and rotate keys on a custom schedule of every 180 days. Which encryption configuration meets these requirements? Select 1. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option D. A customer-managed KMS key provides full control over key policies, enables CloudTrail audit logging of all key usage, encrypt, decrypt, generate data key operations, and supports configurable automatic rotation between 90 and 2560 days, meeting the 180-day rotation requirement. AWS managed keys rotate automatically every year and cannot be configured for a custom rotation schedule. Additionally, AWS managed keys provide limited audit granularity compared to customer-managed keys. AWS-owned keys are invisible to the customer and do not support auditing or custom rotation. SSE S3 is an S3 encryption mechanism and is not applicable to Kinesis data streams encryption. Question 13. A data engineer at Litware Telecom needs to build a pipeline that captures real-time changes from an Amazon RDS MySQL database and delivers them to both an Amazon Redshift data warehouse and an Amazon OpenSearch service domain simultaneously. The solution should minimize operational overhead and support continuous replication. Which architecture should the data engineer implement? Select one. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option D. Using DMS CDC to stream changes to Kinesis data streams provides a single change capture pipeline that can fan out to multiple destinations. Two separate Firehose delivery streams consume from the same Kinesis stream, delivering to Redshift via S3 copy and OpenSearch simultaneously. This minimizes the load on the source database since only one CDC reader accesses the transaction logs. Two separate DMS CDC tasks would double the read load on the source database's transaction logs, potentially impacting production performance. A custom eSeatWo binlog parser requires significant development and operational effort. DMS to S3 with glue ETL jobs introduces batch latency and higher operational complexity compared to the streaming approach. Question 14. A multinational corporation stores customer data from various countries in an Amazon S3 bucket. Data analysts are assigned to specific countries and must only access records from their assigned country. Which solution most efficiently enforces this access policy? Select one answer. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option B. AWS Lake Formation provides fine-grained access control at the row level, allowing administrators to define data filters that restrict which rows a given user or role can see based on data values such as country. This is managed centrally from a single governance layer without creating separate physical copies or storage paths for each country's data. AWS glue separate databases organize metadata, but do not enforce row-level access control on the underlying data. Redshift views with IAM roles require moving all data to Redshift, creating and maintaining multiple views, and do not provide row-level access on the original S3 data lake. Creating separate S3 tables or prefixes per country requires duplicating or reorganizing physical data and managing access policies for each individual location, which becomes operationally burdensome as the number of countries grows. Question 15. A Datum Corp uses Amazon OpenSearch service to analyze application logs. The domain receives 500 GB of new log data daily. Business users query logs from the past 7 days frequently, logs from 8-30 days occasionally, and logs older than 30 days only during compliance audits. The team wants to minimize storage costs while maintaining query capability for all data. Which tiered storage approach should the data engineer implement? Select one. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option B. An ISM policy that automatically transitions indexes from hot to ultrawarm after 7 days and from ultrawarm to cold storage after 30 days provides the optimal cost-performance balance. Ultrawarm uses S3-backed storage at significantly lower cost than hot storage while still supporting direct queries for the 8-30 day range. Cold storage offers the lowest cost for rarely accessed data and can be reattached to ultrawarm at no additional charge when compliance queries are needed. Keeping all data on hot storage is unnecessarily expensive for infrequently accessed data. deleting indexes after 7 days eliminates the ability to query 8-30-day data directly in OpenSearch. Cross-cluster replication doubles infrastructure costs and adds operational complexity without the cost savings of ultra-warm and cold storage tiers. Question 16. Contoso Financial Services ingests transaction data from 50 source systems into an S3 data lake. Each source delivers CSV and JSON files every 15 minutes. The schemas change frequently as new fields are added by upstream systems. The team needs to automatically detect schema changes and process new files incrementally using AWS Glue. Which combination of steps should the team implement? Select 2, review the answer choices on screen. The correct answers are Option A and Option C. An event bridge rule triggering a Glue workflow on a 15-minute schedule aligns with the data delivery frequency and provides automated orchestration of crawlers and ETL jobs in sequence. Glue workflows are purpose-built for coordinating crawlers and ETL jobs with dependency management. Glue job bookmarks track which files have already been processed, ensuring incremental processing without reprocessing old data. Triggering a crawler per individual file upload creates excessive crawler runs and is operationally expensive. Crawl event mode provides low latency detection, but requires additional S3 event notification configuration and does not inherently handle schema changes better than scheduled crawling. Step functions with SQS adds unnecessary complexity compared to native Glue workflows for this use case. Question 17. A data engineer at Litware Inc. is designing a CDC pipeline to capture changes from an Amazon RDS MySQL database and deliver them to multiple downstream consumers, including Amazon S3, Amazon OpenSearch, and a real-time analytics application. The pipeline must support fan-out to all 3 destinations simultaneously with minimal operational overhead. Which architecture should the data engineer implement? Select 1, review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is Option A. Using DMS CDC to stream changes to Amazon MSK provides a durable, ordered event stream, while MSK Connect with separate sync connectors enables fan-out to S3, OpenSearch, and the analytics application with minimal operational overhead. MSK Connect is fully managed and supports standard Kafka Connect connectors, including S3 Sync and OpenSearch Sync. Running 3 separate DMS tasks from the same source database creates triple the load on the source database's transaction log, which can impact production performance. Building a custom binlog parser requires significant development effort, ongoing maintenance, and introduces operational risk. Using S3 as an intermediary with Lambda introduces latency, complexity, and potential ordering issues since S3 event notifications are not guaranteed to be ordered. Question 18. A data engineer at Fabricam Genomics uses Amazon EMR to process large-scale genomic datasets. The cluster runs daily batch jobs that take 4-6 hours. The primary and core nodes run critical HDFS-dependent tasks, while task nodes handle compute-only Spark executors. The team needs to reduce EMR costs by 60% without affecting job reliability. Which combination of strategies should the data engineer implement? Select 2, review the answer choices on screen. The correct answers are Option A and Option C. Using spot instances for task nodes provides significant cost savings, up to 90% compared to on-demand, with minimal risk since task nodes only run Spark executors without storing HDFS data. Instance fleets with capacity-optimized allocation strategy diversify across instance types to reduce spot interruption likelihood. Switching to transient clusters eliminates the cost of running idle clusters between daily jobs, and EMRFS ensures data persists on S3 after cluster termination. Using spot instances for primary and core nodes risks HDFS data loss if instances are reclaimed, which would cause job failures and data corruption. EMR managed scaling helps with dynamic workloads, but does not fundamentally reduce costs by 60% for predictable daily batch jobs. Storing all intermediate data on HDFS instead of S3 would prevent using transient clusters since data would be lost when the cluster terminates. Question 19. Contoso Telecom has an Amazon Kinesis data streams application with 8 shards processing mobile network events. 5 different consumer applications need to read from the same streams simultaneously. The data engineer observes frequent provision throughput exceeded exception errors on the consumers. What should the data engineer do to resolve this issue with minimal changes to existing consumers? Select 1, review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option C. Enhanced Fanout provides each registered consumer with a dedicated 2 MB/s read throughput per shard via HTTP/2 push, eliminating the shared throughput contention that causes provision throughput exceeded exception. With shared consumers, the 2 MB/s per shard read limit is divided among all consumers, and with 5 consumers each limited to 5 getRecords calls per second per shard, they quickly exceed the available bandwidth. Enhanced Fanout supports up to 20 registered consumers and requires minimal changes since the consumer code needs only to switch to the Subscribe to Shard API. Increasing shards to 40 would increase costs proportionally and doesn't directly address the per shard consumer contention. Reducing polling frequency would slow all consumers and still not prevent contention with 5 readers. Consolidating into one application would require significant rewriting and eliminate the independent processing logic of each consumer. Question 20. A data engineering team migrates an on-premises Microsoft SQL Server database to Amazon RDS for SQL Server and needs continuous replication of ongoing changes with minimal manual effort. Which 2 actions should they take? Select 2, review the answer choices on screen. The correct answers are option A and option D. OSDMS requires full transaction logging to be enabled on the source SQL Server in order to capture change data. Without full transaction logs, the CDC component of DMS cannot track row-level changes made to the source database after the initial load. A DMS task configured in full load plus CDC mode performs the initial bulk migration of all existing data, and then automatically transitions to capturing and applying ongoing changes, satisfying both the initial migration and continuous replication requirements in a single task. CDC-only mode skips the full load and is appropriate only when data has already been migrated through another mechanism, which is not the case here. AWS SCT converts schemas and code between different database engines. Since both source and target are SQL Server, no schema conversion is needed. Oz DataSync transfers files and objects between storage systems and has no capability for database-level migration or change data capture. That is the end of practice exam number 9. Review the questions you missed, then come back for the next batch.